All right, everyone. Julian Castro is now officially in the 2020 race, and he is the only person that I can see so far that actually has any viability. Don't underestimate him. He's young, he's well spoken. In fact, if you listen to the speech that he gave, where he's like, "Yes, I'm running in 2020," echoes of Obama, echoes of pie in the sky promises, suave, well spoken first term Obama. What we may therefore end up seeing is what would happen if Trump had run against Obama and done the same thing like back in the the lame McCain era. Would he have done well? I think in fact he might exactly be the same age. Wasn't Obama 44 when he first ran? I think he was. He was pretty close to them, maybe 43 or 42 or something. Again, well spoken, generally well received, serving in San Antonio, working in Texas, getting a home field advantage in a state that has begun to tilt less red. Texas used to be solidly red by 30 points. Now it's closer to 15. I don't think he could flip it, but it'd be a nightmare for the Republicans if he did, because then that sets the stage for further growth. And then that's how a state tips. It's like with the Rust Belt. The Democrats right now are suffering a nervous breakdown that they won't tell anybody about over the idea of Michigan no longer being a lean blue state, becoming a new swing state. Or Pennsylvania, because remember, for a long time it had been kind of red, flipped over to be kind of blue, and now it's it's teetering on the edge of the two. Or Wisconsin, even Minnesota. That'd be a terrible time for the Republicans. It'd be really funny. Imagine the Republicans. They expand upon their gains economically, speaking in the Rust Belt, and then the Democrats start taking Texas and Arizona and sweeping the Southwest. In fact, that does look like it might end up being the electoral map that we see. It's still, by the way, still 50-50 split in the Electoral College pretty much, so it's actually still really competitive. It's not like a total wipeout, but the Republicans would be really reluctant to cede Texas, just like the Democrats don't want to cede Pennsylvania. I think that Julian Castro has a higher likelihood of becoming the nominee, and I'll tell you why. It looks a lot like 2008 all over again. Now, I wouldn't vote for him because he's a fiscal liberal. Now, I don't want fiscally liberal policies because I'm starting to make more money now. Yeah, I'm voting with my wallet. I don't want to have to pay a bunch more taxes for no reason, for the government to go fucking bomb people and shit. I just think that's irresponsible and stupid. But he's more likely than the others. You look at the rest of the field. Tulsi Gabbard. Her initially anti-gay and, in fact, blatantly homophobic views at the time puts her at odds with the current zeitgeist of the Democratic Party. Her more maybe jingoistic style of foreign policy makes her sound more like a Republican. A neocon, by the way, which isn't going to endear someone like me. I just don't think that the votes are there. I don't think she can do it. Again, young and younger and suave and maybe more likable than some of the others, but I just don't think so. Ticks too many minority boxes and therefore ticks off the Rust Belt voters especially, who tend to be white and in unions. You think of Elizabeth Warren. She's older, she's not as well spoken, she is easily antagonized. She'll be antagonized by other candidates on the trail just as a Democrat, let alone if she got into the general. I don't think she has a chance. Joe Biden, he's ancient. Okay, he's ancient, and he's basically the knockoff version, older version of Obama anyway. It's not going to happen. Bloomberg, he hasn't announced a run. I think he doesn't even have an exploratory committee. It's getting to the point where you've already got a fairly crowded field. You've got at least you've got several people who have said they're running. Several people are exploring their options, likely to run. Biden might get in. In fact, Biden would be the only one to cock-block Julian Castro. I just think that a younger, more sophisticated style of candidate capable of keeping up with the current way in which campaigning needs to be done, someone who certainly will have the energy to run, be younger and therefore presumably more tech literate, more hip to the lingo, so to speak, would actually pose a threat to Donald Trump. Now, on economic issues, Trump wins, hand over fist. As far as foreign policy, it might be kind of difficult for Trump to deal with that. And certainly, as someone who's, again, holding court down in Texas, enjoys decent popularity there, that could endanger the Republicans therein. It would be very interesting if Trump gets reelected, but the Democrats flip Texas. Like Trump goes full Rust Belt mode, grabs up maybe Minnesota, and starts making inroads in New Hampshire or something, and all of a sudden, Texas and Arizona start looking more and more blue. It's possible. That would fit in with the current paradigm shift. Those are the states that are getting more blue. The Rust Belt and some of these other margin states, they're getting more red. That's sort of what's happening. Florida is now the bellwether of U.S. politics. I think Castro would probably win there, in all honesty, despite his surname. Maybe holding him back with certain disgruntled voting blocks. The thing is, though, here's what'll happen, or what could happen. He'll appeal to the younger voters. He'll do the same thing Obama did, lots of slogans and promises that will not actually be fulfilled, but it'll sound good, and it'll look good, and it will contrast. Here you've got a dude in his mid-40s, very coherent, scripted, teleprompter sense, versus Trump, who tends to grow, he rambles, he's older, admittedly so. I think that contrast could definitely endanger Trump's second term. Yeah, absolutely. So the Republicans would do well. Right now, what Trump should do is try to use some reverse psychology and heap praise on him and say, oh, finally, a Democrat I could actually run against, and it would actually be a fun time because there'd be a challenge there. Because then the easily fooled far leftists that he'd be counting on, because they're the younger voters, won't actually support him. The other possibility is you could have additional dark horse style candidates. This is like Obama rising up out of nowhere. You can expect Julian Castro will probably get put on the back burner for a while, and then he'll do something grand and shoot to the front. But remember this, the Democrats coronate their candidates. They have superdelegates. They have all sorts of corporate haranguing going on. The DNC coordinates with the media. Ultimately, whoever they want to be the candidate, whoever their insiders feel is most likely to win, and especially among the lamestream candidates, that person has a higher likelihood of being the nominee. So Julian Castro, he might not be that person. They might say, well, he's looking good, but let's wait 4 more years. Let's wait until the next election. We'll run somebody else. In the meantime, they probably wouldn't even care if Trump won, because then they're convinced that his popularity would continue to decline and the Republicans would suffer more. And some of the Republicans agree with them. So finally, you have an interesting Democrat in the 2020 field. Again, he's officially running. There's no exploratory committee, no, nothing like that. And I think you're going to see a cascade of other people make their final decision fairly soon, because nobody wants to be the last person to announce. So Gabbard has announced, yes, she's the first technically viable lamestream candidate. Castro's getting aboard. That puts pressure on the Bidens. It puts pressure on the Gillibrands and other people as well. So you'll see some of that soon. That's about all. Peace out.